Inside my heart, got this everlasting light is shining like the sun. It radiates on everyone, and the more that I give, the more I got to give. It's the way that I live, it's what I'm living for. Light upon light upon light, all disappear into one. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Love upon love upon love, all hearts are beating as one. Light upon light upon light, all disappear into one. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart, let the way of the heart shine through. Yes.
We have a very special program planned today, and part of that is because we have a guest from the mainland, a very special guest. And his name is Dr. Jim Lockard, and he's from CSL Simi Valley in California. And he has been a pastor and spiritual director for many, 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 many years. And he's called doctor because he received in 2008 an honorary doctorate of religious science from International Centers for Spiritual Living. And the focus of his ministry is awakening minds and opening hearts. And prior to his ministry, this is really interesting, he was an officer, police law enforcement officer in Maryland and Dade County. So I guess if you get to talk to him, you might hear about that, I don't know. And he's written 2 books. One of them is Survival Thinking, that he wrote when he was an officer. And his newest book, and it's here today, and I read it, it is a wonderful book. I even took a class in it. It's called Sacred Thinking, Awakening to Your Inner Power. And it's, like I said, a wonderful book. It's here, and he'll even autograph it for you should you choose to buy it today. So without further ado, I just want to introduce him, and he's going to speak to us for a few moments and actually do our prayer treatment today. So welcome, Dr. Lockard.
Aloha. My first visit to the islands.
You thought I was the only one.
I got really excited when I got late. I am a minister, but we're not very reverent. So it's Mother's Day, and as I always say, if it's not one thing, it's your mother. It's kind of interesting. Now I want to talk a little bit about what science of mind is and how it applies and how we apply principles to our lives. And the idea of Mother's Day is one of those occasions where we look at certain principles. And one principle we would look at today is the idea of the feminine principle in creativity. All creativity on the plane of duality, which is the physical universe in which we live, requires 2 energies in which to have creativity expressed. The masculine, which is the initiating energy. The word father means first mover. And the feminine energy, which is the field in which the creativity unfolds. So in your mind, your conscious mind is a masculine energy. It's the initiator of thought. And your subconscious mind is the receiver of thought and the place where the generative action of creativity occurs. So you think, every thought you have doesn't manifest, does it? Have you noticed notice that? Okay, which is probably a good thing. There's a whole lot of dead people on the highway. But what happens, though, we do notice that when thought patterns persist and become beliefs on the subconscious level, which is the feminine arena, the fertile soil of creativity can occur, and then that's what manifests. What manifests is what you believe, what you come to truly accept at depth. So the purpose of the techniques we teach, spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, is to think in a creative way so that you're creating beliefs that serve you, as opposed to creating beliefs that limit you. So the feminine principle is the idea, if you will. Another way of looking at another metaphor is the seed planted in the soil. The seed is the masculine energy. It contains within it the idea of what is to come. You plant it in the soil. The soil accepts it and nurtures it. It does what the soil does. And what grows is a plant that is based on what the seed was. The soil can't say to the seed, no, I'm not going to grow a papaya out of you, papaya seed. We're going to grow a banana. Okay, the soil doesn't do that. It accepts whatever it's given. So your thoughts that you put into your subconscious mind has to accept. It can't say, no, I'm going to turn this depressive week you've had into, unicorns and fairies. It just doesn't do that. It simply takes you at your thought, or takes you at your word. So that's why it's so important what we think and how we think. It's so important to pay attention and take dominion over the conscious mind, so that what you're thinking is something that's going to lead you to a greater experience of life, not a diminished experience of life. Shakespeare said, nothing is either good nor bad, only thinking makes it so. So the principle would be that, let's say, the creative energy of the universe is present within all of us. It expresses in all of creation through a masculine and feminine principle. And it's the masculine principle that tends to determine what the future outcome will be via the feminine principle. That's how I prefer to look at Mother's Day, because the reality is many of us have had mixed experiences with our own mothers. Some of us I had an amazing mom, wouldn't say a negative word about her. She was phenomenal and amazing, but I know there's many people that didn't have that experience. And this is one of those days where you're supposed to be happy about your mom, and that may not be your experience, okay? Now, if you're here with your mom, I know it is your experience. But the reality is that everybody doesn't have the same kind of experience. And one of the lessons we need to learn is all of this is arising out of this process of our thoughts and beliefs. It's not what happens to us, it's our story about it that becomes our reality. I had a friend, one of our ministers, Dr. Jane Ryder, she's told this story many times. She grew up in Hawaii, and she was the baby of a whole bunch of kids. And she used to talk about running around and running amok as a little kid, playing out in the fields and on the water and everything. But she said, my memory is that I always wasn't paid much attention to, that all my clothes were hand-me-downs, that all my toys were hand-me-downs, and that my parents, my father and my mother, didn't really pay much attention to me. And she would tell this story. That was her story of her experience of growing up. And then when her mom died, she came back home. They were on the Big Island, and she came back home, and all her family gathered around, and she started to tell that story, as they started to tell stories of themselves. And as he said, my brothers and sisters just looked at me, and they said, Jane, what are you talking about? You were the princess. You never wore a hand-me-down. Everybody gave up things so that you could have them, because you were mom and dad's treasure. They carried you around, and the rest of us felt diminished in your presence. And she said, I had to come to terms with the fact that A, they weren't lying to me, and B, I had created a story about my life that wasn't true. But it became my reality. See, that's the power of mind. Our capacity to make stuff up based on an impression we get, based on an interpretation we make of something. Has anyone in here ever been mistaken about anything? ever happened to you? Okay, a couple of you have. Okay. I thought I was mistaken once, but I was wrong. So what happens when you have a misunderstanding or you're mistaken? Until you find out it's a misunderstanding, you act like it's true. Well, we all have a lot of misunderstandings we haven't found out aren't true yet. It might be that I'm not enough, and I'm not very good at this or very good at that, or people don't like me, or it's hard for me to make friends, or it's hard for me to whatever. You know, there's always too much month at the end of the money, or whatever it is that our story is. And we don't stop and look at that and say, is that really true? And does it need to be true? You see, what's the difference between someone who's happy and someone who's sad? What they're telling themselves about the truth. And it's not that there isn't time to be sad. Sadness is part of life. You know? Sadness is part of life. So the principle of the divine feminine, if you will, is to recognize we all have that creative element within us, and we can all use it in a positive way. And it's okay to feel bad. It's okay to be sad when you have loss or when things don't work out. But the recognition needs to be that there's a greater truth that I'm just not realizing in this moment. And at some point I'll be ready to realize it. And when you're ready to be happy, happiness is there for you. When you're ready to have abundance in your life, abundance is there for you. But it won't come to you until you are ready to claim it through that process of mind. So that's what our teaching is basically about. We come here on Sunday to be refreshed and learn lessons. We go to class to really get into, in a very significant way, the meaningful understanding of these teachings. And it's psychology, and it's philosophy, and it's metaphysics, and it's symbolism, and it's mythology, and it's a whole bunch of things. And you take these principles and you operate upon them according to who you are. Some of you are going to take an intellectual path. Some of you are going to take an emotional, heartfelt path. Some of you are going to take a mythological path. Whatever it is, the principles work no matter how you apply them. That's what this is about, and you've got two amazing teachers here to help you do that. So that's my talk, and I'm sticking to it. And let's close with a prayer. The life that we live every day, it is our animating force, and it is the creative intelligence of the universe shared by every particle, every atom in the entire universe. And that you and I contain a high level of wisdom and intelligence as human beings, smart enough and wise enough to collect all these trillions of atoms into our orbit and to organize them in such a way that we have a body in which to exist. And we call ourselves not very bright. And we have the capacity to see to the edge of the universe using our telescopes. And we have the capacity to see into the center of the atom using our microscopes. And we have the capacity to grow in understanding of what this cosmic order is all about. So from that place of awareness that you are an amazingly intelligent being, let us know together that the life you are crafting is a life that is an artwork. It is a symphony. It is filled with good. It is filled with love. It is filled with compassion. It is filled with success of every kind. And we release together any need to feel diminished or to feel needy or to feel not enough, because we know that's just a story. And we call forth from within us a bigger idea, a better story, a more true version of what is possible. And we celebrate this together, and we come here to help one another remember that truth. This spiritual community that you are co-creating is a place where you can journey together along a spiritual pathway of true awakening, where you can be the authentic version of yourself that is perfect in every way. Perfect in the sense that you're always you. And we can stand tall when we're faced with challenges. We can stand tall in the truth of our own greatness when we are challenged, when we are facing loss or abandonment or fear. So I'm saying yes to a greater idea right now for you and for me and for all of us. I'm saying yes to this Center for Spiritual Living Kauai becoming a mighty work that attracts people who are ready to go forward in their lives in a positive way. It is that this center, this community is a beacon of light and a beacon of hope. And I'm sharing an intention for all of us that each one of us here today recognize that we already have everything we need to live the lives of our dreams. And we claim that truth right here and now with deep gratitude. And I release this word into the creative medium, the creative field that we call mind, knowing it is done unto us as we believe and we say together, and so it is. Thank you.
And so this woman, she comes to us from Kauai, and she is one that is very close to heart. I know her personally, and I've watched her journey. And we are so blessed that whenever she gives us that gift of her voice. And there are many requests for that. And so today we have our wonderful, wonderful, beautiful G-Man accompanying the wonderful Reverend Rita Andriello.
Rita to sing this song on Mother's Day because it was a song I sang to my children when they were little. And just like the Ave Maria was my signature song, this was my children's remembrance of me. You know, as Dr. Jim was saying, we've all had different experiences being mothers and having mothers and knowing mothers and not having mothers maybe and growing up without mothers and all of that. So I'm with him. Mother's Day to me is about mothers, yes, but about the one mother, father, love, divine light that lives within each of us, that no matter what our experience was, we can always turn to that. And so, although I celebrate my mother today, and I'm grateful for her and her bringing me here to this earth, I celebrate the mother within me and the mother within all of us. Whether we're female, male, we all have that nurturing, creative spirit, that love, that one thing that we can turn to that turns back to us. And I'm reminded of this passage in the Bible where Jesus, the great way shower, who we know is one of our great way showers, was speaking in the temple, and they came to him and said that his mothers and brothers wanted to talk to him. And he said, "Who is my mother and who are my brethren?" And it might have seemed a little haughty to say that, like, who were they? But he explained to his followers that in truth, each becomes the mother, father, and brethren of all. So, like I said, there is a place within us. Ernest Holmes calls it the Adronis Principle, the father, mother of all. Our earthly parents symbolize this heavenly parentage, and Jesus knew that love must become universal before it can reach its maturity. Hence he said that all who live in harmony with the truth are brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers in it. So that place within us, that place that calls us to be, that calls out for safety, and that place that answers with safety, that's our mother within, that mother nature that we can never fool. Dr. Jim was talking about the law of the feminine principle. We can never fool it. It's as close as our heart, that creative energy, that it picks up the very impress of what we're thinking, and what we're thinking predominantly, and brings it into manifestation. But it's always in our favor. It's good. It's saying yes to us at all times. It's saying, turn to me and I'll turn to you, and I'm waiting right here where you are. So I've been thinking about two perfect mothers. Like, what's a perfect mother? Because I don't know if I was the perfect mother. I had a lot of things with my kids, and we all did. I wish I'd talked to more mothers at the time, because I probably would have seen that everybody was going through the same thing. But I know that even the things that I might have did or not did, or maybe, and my kids never tell me these things. They always think I'm wonderful, but I don't know what they say behind my back. But they always say I'm wonderful to me. Anyway, but the things that I did or did not do, I believe, and I invite you to just think about this. I believe we're all part of the divine plan anyway, and all turned out the way it needed to turn out, and brought out in them what needed to be brought out, and brought out in me what needed to be brought out. I watched this beautiful video on YouTube. I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. It's called The Push. It's about the eagle, and how the eagle has to finally push its child out of the nest. And it says that it's a very difficult time for the eagle, because she's got to push her kids out of the nest, and she's got to do it thousands of feet above the earth, because they live, where they live, and when they're practicing, they practice over their nest, the babies. But finally, it comes to the point where they have to be pushed out, and in the story, I don't know what the eagle's thinking, but in the story, it's like, she's wondering, is the baby going to fly? But then she knows that she has to give that push, and so the eagle is pushed out of the nest, and the eagle flies and soars. And I'm saying this because I'm thinking about times that maybe in our life where we were pushed either unconsciously or consciously by our parents to have to make a decision about ourselves, or in the case of me, like, you're either the pusher or the one being pushed. So I thought, going back to this divine thing, that everything that ever occurred with myself as a mother has always been in that divine pattern. So I can look back at it, and if I feel like it's something I need to forgive, I don't know about that, but then or any of us, but I can take that and just say, there's not, like Ernest Holmes said, there's no mistakes, never have ever been made, none will ever be made. There are no mistakes. Because this divine essence, this divine energy, this divine mother, this creative process, it's always saying yes, and it's always, and we're always going to go back home all the time. There's no doubt in my mind. So as I celebrate myself as a mother, as I celebrate each and every one of you, male and female, as a mother today, and in touch with that mother process, that mother inside, I just know that our lives are always unfolding perfectly, that no matter what, we've always done the right thing.
we don't ever have to think anything but that. We've always done the right thing, because somewhere in the divine evolution it has been the right thing. So I release and celebrate all of us in our journey and all of those who we have touched. And I know that love, forgiveness is the way and the truth, and that I celebrate that, and I say every day is a state of that love and a state of that forgiveness and a state of that going back to the one and going back to the one. So I just am grateful for all of you and grateful for this journey, and I'm grateful to be here. And thank you, Dr. Jim, for speaking today. That was so amazing. And I just say mahalo and happy Mother's Day, everyone. And thank you. And I turn the time over to my wonderful husband.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about this Mother's Day thing. I think there's an incredible amount of pressure put on you, to be honest with you, with the mothers. A lot of pressure. All of a sudden I'm thinking to myself, what does Mother's Day mean to me? And pretty much everything that's been spoken, there's a nurturing side to all of us that we can count on, that we can embrace, that, I'm always saying the yin and yang, but that's just kind of, it's really something that's inbred in us as spiritual beings, to be able to take care of ourselves, that mother-father spirit. I was thinking, when I say pressure, it's because there is this thing. I know my mom is 92, she's going through a lot of reflecting. Is that a good word to use? Reflecting. And I'm getting calls now that are saying, when you were 12, and she's doing all, do you hold that against me? And all these things are coming up, and it really kind of breaks my heart in one way, because one, I love her, but second of all, I always tell her, knock the pressure off. You did what you needed to do at the time in which you were doing it. And I'm here because of that. Yeah, I can sit down, I have stories. Oh boy, do I have some stories. and someday I'm sure you'll all hear it. But in the meantime, no, I've let go of that stories about, but it's interesting to hear her. Because every time, and then, your brother, do you think that maybe I should have left your dad a little earlier? And all of these things are coming up. And then you go all the way back to Catholicism, the Virgin Mary, talk about trying to live up to something. You think about it. This was a symbol that was put upon that I remember my mom not being the conventional mom, and my dad not being the conventional dad. But that was really okay, but I remember all of the kind of the judgments that went along with that. It's like, I'm saying my mother belonged to the Moose Lodge. I've never said that in public before, but now it's on film, for God's sake. But my mother was a moose, and I was raised a moose, and I'm damn proud of it. Okay, so here we go. But there was something about when I was little, young, that when you said my parents are mooses, it didn't exactly get like, So they were like, oh, what's a moose, and then it's like, it's an organization. And I'm not putting it down, well, kind of, I guess, but I'm not really, but I just know that the pressure that went with being a moose was quite a bit. But here's the thing, judgment, and I didn't think there was anything wrong at the time that my parents belonged to a moose lodge, but I guess that wasn't the upper part of, oh, your mother goes to a moose lodge on Friday nights after the fish fry. Yeah, so you all know where I come from now, huh? I'll let it all go. Fish fries, Friday night, 6 o'clock, all you could eat. Thank you very much. But this was not where, what's really funny? None of that's in any of this. Just to let you know, none of the moose ever got into my pre-planning stages. But here's the other thing. I was thinking of just how we take judgment and we put our stuff upon other people is really what I'm trying to say. And it's interesting, we've become kind of the hen house in Princeville, believe it or not. And I was actually asked the other day, do they have hens and roosters in Princeville? I was like, really? You're kidding. Like there wouldn't be any hens and roosters in Princeville. There's plenty, thanks to my wife who loves to give a few Cheerios here and there. Now we have a whole bunch of people. But anyway, we notice this is where the core of this is going. I'm still back at why did we talk about the moose? But this hen, we called her, talk about judgment. We have no idea what this hen is thinking, where it comes from, what it's doing, but we have already placed a judgment upon Henny Dearest. And the reason we call her Henny Dearest is because she had all these kids, right? And then each time she came back to the house, one was missing. Now we know Henny Dearest didn't do it. It was probably the cat that lives down the street. But we noticed she wasn't taking care of her children the way we thought she should take care of her children. Can you imagine? I mean, we're sitting here, intelligent beings at the table trying to figure out where her parenting skills are at this moment. And I'm thinking, no, there are people that need our help in the world, but we're concerned with Henny Dearest. And Henny Dearest comes back, and this was the topper. Henny Dearest took the food away from her child. And now you know when I told everybody this, what they said. Oh, no, they give it to their children. They don't take it from their children. That hen, Henny Dearest, she was, the baby would go to reach for it, and she would snap it, eat it, and it's like, and I'm thinking, I called her a name here and there, but I went, can you imagine? So we built this whole story as Jim, all these stories around Henny Dearest. And here's the deal. I have no idea why Henny Dearest lost her children. I have no idea. This is a divine nature, innate nature that these hens are doing it. But now Henny Dearest comes without children, of course, to get a little extra food. And then this is what we do because we're spiritual. Thank you. We go, is that Henny? Is that Henny Dearest? Why do you want more food, Henny? I mean, we're involved in the story. So what does this have to do with anything? Well, it has to do with we need to stop judging, is where I'm at, and take responsibility for ourselves. So if you ever see Henny Dearest, you'll know her. She's just very, very, she's a bad hen. Very bad. No. So here's the thing. So then I thought, well, what does this have to do with Mother's Day? Well, it has everything to do with it. Because when I came here, we put a lot of blame. If my life doesn't work out, I've always got Mom to blame. It really works out well that way. Because then I can go, oh, if she hadn't been a moose, perhaps I would have went a different direction. And so I hope you guys can just see this right now. It's like, I'm a moose, you got a problem with it? And it's like, I can just see this happen. But when I came here, they talked about Mother Kauai, and I used that as well. And what I know about Mother Kauai is that we use it as a she because it's a nurturing and just lush principle that's working so much and nurturing everything that we do here. Now, mind you, when I fell and fractured my shoulder, another one of my stories, what happened was someone said to me, and I think I brought this up before, it was Mother Kauai testing you. Right? Testing you whether or not you really wanted to be here or not. And I had to really think about it. Well, first of all, you're new on the island. And I've lived in I've lived in San Francisco, LA, New Mexico, where I met Rita, and New York City. Everyone always still has a story about where they live. Like when I went to New York, as an actor, they said, if you can make it there, you'll make it anywhere, right? As though there's some entity living there that's debating whether or not I can be there. I remember getting on a plane in Newark and flying off back to LA when it didn't happen for me. I didn't get that Broadway role right off the bat. And I remember being in that plane and looking out, literally, and going, I'm coming back. And when I do, you're going to treat me a lot better. And I'm thinking to myself right now, who was I talking to? Who So when they said that Mother Kauai, was just kind of testing me, tripping me, and I said, my first reaction was, Mother Kauai is so loving and so beautiful that Mother Kauai would never trip me. And I'm really saying that from a real deep place in my heart, because I remember feeling, why would she do that to me? That hurt. Mothers don't hurt their children unless that they are not happy themselves. And I know one thing. Mother Kauai is a nurturing, wonderful island that is God-filled. And the reason that I tripped was because there was a root in the middle of the road, and it's all Princeville's fault. That is where I go with it. No, what really goes with it is the fact that I'm taking 100% responsibility for my life. And as we've all been talking about today, we live in a world of cause and effect. And I find it very hard to believe that any place would ever trip and make me feel bad or hurt. That's just sometimes my excuse not to take responsibility for myself and for the things that have occurred in my life, not to blame myself. So this is what I know. And, I'm not the only one. I mean, I've talked to so many people that go, oh my God, when I first came here, coconuts were dropping on my head. And when I came here, and then, Rita with the wrist, and we're all like, oh, do you think there's something to this Mother Kauai? No. I am pure love that has never been touched by anything but pure energy. And I know that that's the good news, is that we get to live in the law of cause and effect, because we get to choose our thoughts. And yes, I make mistakes. I trip over things. And I'm going to say that they say, well, how do you know that for sure? I'm not sure why I really tripped, and that's really not really important anymore, is it? The most important thing is that I remember who I am now. And when I tripped because I didn't feel I deserved to live in Kauai. That was my, when I had to go in and ask, that's what it said for me. It said, you didn't think you were good enough. Do you think it was the moose thing? That I wasn't good enough. And people say, well, you don't know that for sure. No, I don't. And I really don't care anymore. But I do know that that was what was going through my mind, that always the constant, not struggle, but the wonder, the remembering that I came here for a reason. And we came here for a reason, to build this beautiful community and this center. And I deserve to be here. You deserve to be here. We were just talking the other day about how some people think of Kauai as maybe someday. Maybe someday I'll be able to go to that place that we live. That we live, most of us. That we live. And I deserve it. Why? Because of who and what I am. I am that wondrous, wondrous thing called God, called life, called love. And so is each and every one of you. And we can take this story of Kauai, we can take Henny Dearest, and we can take it out into the world. And when we start to point our fingers and start to say, why are they doing what they're doing? Just take a moment. Nobody hurts anyone, including themselves, unless there's a part of them that has forgotten who they are. I know. Let that land. Nobody. Cross the board, everybody. Cross the board. Nobody means to ever hurt another person when they truly love themselves. So what we are about is reminding ourselves and getting back to love. And when we're there, we will be alive, fully, spiritually alive. Happy Mother's Day to all of you. Happy Mother's Day to me. And And yes, happy Mother's Day to Annie Dearest. Namaste.
And all we want people to know is that they're magnificent and that they have the power to create the lives of their dreams at all times because of who and what they are. That's all we're doing. We're not trying to change anybody or trying to force anything on anybody. We just want people to know how magnificent they are.
Blessed am I, Spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. Blessed am I, Spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. Blessed am I, Spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. Blessed am I, Spirit am I am the infinite within my soul. I have no beginning and I have no end. All this I am. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. Nothing you can say that can't be sung. Nothing you can say but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need. Nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do but you can learn how to be with time. It's easy. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need.
I know that love is all I need, and I know that love is all I have. The full expression of life is in me, around me, and through me, right here and right now. And it is love in action. It is compassion growing from a realization of oneness. And it is gratitude for being part of a spiritual community like this that is vibrant, that is open, that is loving, and that is based on deep and eternal truths that releases me to be my authentic self without judgment or limitation. So I say yes, right here and right now, to the love that I am, to the wisdom that I am, to the joy that I am, to the beauty that I am, to the peace that I am, to the light that I am. I'm so grateful for this unfolding realization that is expressing as my life, and I release this word lovingly into the creative field of mind, and together we say, and so it is.
Love is all you need. 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 Love is all you need.